If you have a dog that is aggressive on leash, then this video is for you, because today we are talking about whether or not you should use a collar or a harness if your dog is aggressive on leash. And specifically, we're going to be pinpointing some scientific data to lead us in the right direction. So if you're interested, keep watching. What's up, guys? It's Jenna with Dog Liaison, where I coach you on how to enhance your dog's mental health needs. On this channel, we break down scientific research in order to inform and educate us on how to train dogs. So if you're interested in a nerdier approach to canine cognition, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Now, I'm a professional dog trainer who works solely with dogs dealing with some sort of anxiety or hyperarousal disorder. That is that they usually get excited on leash. In fact, my Recovering Rover program is designed specifically for dogs that become reactive or aggressive when they go out for walks. And one of the questions I get asked all the time, I'm really sorry if you can hear Max drinking in the background. One of the good questions I get asked all the time from my clients is, should I use a collar or a harness? Now, most of the arguments for or against a collar or a harness is usually grounded in, well, this harness makes me feel like I have more control, or that collar is physically safe. So usually it's grounded in safety and what makes you feel like you have the most control. So we're going to talk about those today, but we're going to start off by talking about what is the behavioral changes, if any, that a harness can cause for a dog. So there is this idea that sometimes a harness is going to have a comforting or soothing effect for a dog, and that therefore it is better. However, in its 2016 paper, Granger et al. Found that there's no significant differences in behavior found between dogs walked on either a neck collar or a harness. The lack of stress responses shown under either conditions suggests that dog welfare is not compromised by either restraint. So it seems as though there's really no indication to believe that a harness is causing less emotional stress than a collar per se, but that doesn't necessarily say anything about force. In a 2013 paper, Pam et al., I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, they looked at guide dogs and they were looking at the force applied to the harness, and they found that most of the force goes to the abdomen, so the underbelly, under the armpits, that's where most of the force goes through on a harness. However, the interesting thing to point out here is that these were tested on guide dogs, and guide dogs have braces on their back, and so theoretically it could be that the handlers were lifting up off the back, and that's why the force wasn't put on the back, it was more put under the underbelly. To my knowledge, there has not been an equivalent study done on harnesses on quote-unquote normal dogs, but I do think that that would be interesting to see where is force applied in a harness. Now, there absolutely has been tests on collars looking at the force applied in collars. In a 2020 paper, researchers looked at 7 different types of collars, including the check chain, which you might know as the chain collar, and a slip lead. And they compared these against a variety of nylon collars. And what they found was interesting. The first part that they found was that the force is better distributed on the dog's neck on a wider collar. So what that means is that the wider the collar was the easier the force was dispersed throughout the neck. Whereas the thinner the collar is, the more the force was put into one specific area. And they argue that this means it's more dangerous. They say that it's more dangerous to have a smaller collar on, because then when the force is applied, it's going to one specific organ, one specific area, as opposed to being dispersed across the entire neck. That said, you might be thinking, okay, so then I need to just avoid thin collars altogether. Well, the researchers had a follow-up to that. They said, quote, "This study suggests there is a risk of injury to the neck for all collar types and styles tested, even where the collars are padded and wide fitting." So they basically argued that the harness really is the best fit for you if your dog is pulling. And this comes down to why I made this specifically for dogs that demonstrate aggressive behavior on leash. Because here's the thing, in theory, if you had the world's greatest dog who was perfectly sociable, never pulled on the collar, there was never tension on the neck, ever, well then in theory you could have whatever kind of collar you wanted because there would never be tension and there would never be any pressure or force. However, if you have a dog that is lunging and pulling and demonstrating highly arousing behavior to a certain trigger, then that would indicate you're probably better off with a harness, so that pressure isn't being forced into the neck where there are a lot of sensitive organs. Now, obviously it's unethical for me to talk too much about the physical repercussions of a collar or harness, as I am not a veterinarian. That's something that you're going to need to talk to a vet for. However, I can speak to, in generalities, what the researchers say, which is that there does seem to be a pattern of physical harm done to dogs who are on those tight collars and feeling that tension on their neck for extended days, extended years. So with all that said, I do think that if you have a dog that is demonstrating that pulling, that high arousal, even if it's not with the intent to do harm, but is definitely excitable and at a high state of arousal, then you're probably going to want to use a harness. Now, I personally recommend the Freedom harness. I'm going to pull it out of Max's drawer here. The Freedom harness is I have it linked in the description box below. You can check it out. I like it because there's double clasp. There's one on the back and there's one on the front as well. And really why I like it is because it's made out of velvet underneath, so it doesn't chafe the armpits. And I just have perceived anyway that indicates more comfort for my dogs. So I do use that on my own dog, and I actually recommend it to many of my clients for them to use as well. Now, if you have a dog demonstrating aggression on leash or high arousal reactivity on leash, then you might be interested in my signature program, the Recovering Rover program. And this is a program that is designed specifically to coach you on how to treat your dog's reactivity on leash and how to have them walking nicer by your side. So if you're interested in more information on that, you can go to getacalmdog.com or check the description box below. If you enjoyed this video and you enjoy taking a nerdier approach to canine cognition, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, consider hitting the notification bell so you get notified when I drop a new video, and hit the like button to let the YouTube algorithm know that it helped me out. And I will see you guys very soon.